One of the most tragic stories in the entire sporting world in 2024 was the death of the young Kenyan marathoner Kelvin Kiptum, who had just recently broken the world record in last year's Chicago Marathon, dethroning Kipchoge's previous world record with a time of 2 hours and 35 seconds. What's crazy is that Kiptum had only run 3 marathons in his entire career, but every single time he ran, he really set the road on fire. At such a young age, he really was a phenomenon kind of athlete, and anyone that watched him run understood that he was on pace to potentially break the 2-hour barrier in his very next marathon. However, tragedy struck the distance-running world on February 11th of this year, as he died in a car crash just outside of Kaptagat, Kenya. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there has only been a few reports showcasing exactly what happened. He was driving late at night and veered off the road, and along with his coach, he did unfortunately pass away. It was just such a huge loss to the running world and the country of Kenya. But since that time, there have been some truly tragic things that have been going on outside of his death. And unfortunately, Eliud Kipchoge has become a part of Kiptum's death. And recently, there have been some very, very troubling issues going on social media from various trolls online.
I tried to call my mom, and I'm sorry.
Now, what's happening currently with Eliud Kipchoge is that there have been many, many online accusations tying him to the death of Kelvin Kiptum. Now, there have been very, very detailed reports tracking Kiptum's final moments before his death, and those have been reported online, so I'll make sure to link that down below. But for many others that haven't taken the time to read these detailed reports, they have been making these very bizarre accusations against Kipchoge, saying that he had something to do with Kiptum's death. Now, obviously, this is a huge issue for Kipchoge because there is very overwhelming evidence that he had nothing to do with this. And for anyone that takes the time to do the research or think about this situation, you'll know that Kipchoge had absolutely nothing to do with this. But sadly, a lot of people took this story and ran with it. And as you know, the internet very often is the catalyst for misinformation. So throughout the country of Kenya, Kipchoge has actually been receiving death threats. People are saying they're going to burn his house down, and other people are saying they're going to actually go after his family. Now, clearly, this is super, super troubling for Kipchoge. And there's even more threats that went on, and I'll make sure to link an article from The Independent in the description down below. But what I also wanted to focus on here is the fact that these death threats started to come up just before Kipchoge ran in this year's Tokyo Marathon, and he said that he didn't sleep for 3 days building up to this year's Tokyo Marathon because he was scared for his children, he was scared for his family, he was scared for his wife. It was just an overall terrible situation. Not only was Kipchoge afraid for his family, but they had to change a lot of what they did on a day-to-day basis. For years, he said that his children would bike or walk to school, but now they're taking their children by car in the morning and picking them up from the school in the afternoon. He also said that he lost about 90% of his friends. And this is just so crazy because Kipchoge has long been known as someone that is excited when anyone else runs well. He talks about inspiring the world all the time, and he also congratulated Kelvin Kiptum on his new world record, and from all accounts, he was excited to run in this year's Olympics with Kelvin Kiptum. Now, this interview went down with BBC, who sat down with Kipchoge and talked about this tragic issue. And a deeper issue about this whole thing is that there was nobody policing these trolls online. And if someone posts something that feasibly could be true, many people unfortunately might believe that it actually is true. And I really do think that this all could have been avoided if these trolls had been policed and their posts had been taken off social media, because Kipchoge suffered and his family clearly suffered. And while I do understand that people are looking for an outlet to grieve after such a huge loss, this is honestly one of the worst projections when it comes to a death. I hope that whoever originally made these kind of posts can be tracked down and can be given consequences, because this has not only caused Kipchoge massive headaches, but apparently this leaked into his training program because people said that they were going to burn down the actual training program in Kaptagat, Kenya. Anyways, this is just another tragic tale of misinformation, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the matter. What do you think about Kipchoge dealing with all of this? What do you think about the people spreading this information? And it's also important to remember Kelvin Kiptum and his legacy moving into the Olympic Games, because many did consider him the overwhelming favorite for the marathon. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.